Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the London Webfest Q&A sessions. For those of you that don't know, I'm Sol Marin. I'm the festival director here for the London Webfest. As always, with our Q&As, we'll be talking with some of the best talent on the festival circuit right now. This time round, we've invited screenwriter directors from our Q3 official selections. We'll also be joined by our Q3 guest judge, Noella Smith, who's a screenwriter, a director, and also a Bafta winner to boot. Don't forget, we want to hear from you as well. You can pose your questions to our panel just by adding them to the chat. All right, that's enough from me. Before we meet everyone, as always, we first take a look at their work just so you get to know them a little bit better.
Ça fait 5 ans qu'on fait monter l'extrême droite pour te présenter comme l'alternative à Le Pen, mais t'es tellement mauvais que tu te fais doubler à droite par Valoche. Alors du coup, on te fait un adversaire sur mesure, petit, aigri, chétif, l'esprit rabougri et l'ego surdimensionné. Et là encore, t'es incapable de faire le break. Putain, bah heureusement qu'à gauche, c'est carnaval.
Et encore, on a de la chance qu'ils nous fassent pas chanter avec la valise nucléaire.
הוא רואה אותי כמו ילדה, ומבאס, כי אני לא ילדה, אני בוגרת.
ענת, איפה המזרון ים המתנפח?
לאן אתה הולך?
אני עוזב אתכם עוד הערב. בסדר? הכרתי בחורה מקסימה בשם אליאנה תידר, ואנחנו כנראה הולכים לחיות ביחד, כנראה. את מבינה מה שמדברים איתה?
אני לא מבינה, אתה יוצא עם אליאנה תידר שחקנית?
ענת, אני מבקש שבבית אנחנו לפחות שם נקרא לה אליאנה, ולא כל הזמן כוכבת נוער, כוכבת נוער.
Hello? Hi, Yuri. About this advert you applied for, we have a place for you. Still interested?
Yes, thank you. I'm more than interested. Tell me, when is the start date?
How about we start you tomorrow?
The thing is, I can make it happen, but I need one more day, please.
Okay, no problem. We'll take care of everything.
Thank you. I really need this job.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the London Webfest Roundtable. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
Thank you.
How are we all doing today?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. A bit tired, but working all day. But other than that, happy to
It
be here.
is. It is. It's fantastic that you can, as I said to you beforehand, the fact that it's a weekend and you're willing to make the time to join us is just fantastic. Now we're going to jump right into it. We are limited to an hour, so let's just start. If we just go around and if you tell us just briefly about the project that you've brought to the festival. Ortal, shall we start with you?
Yeah, hi. So my name is Ortal. I did the web series Daddy Issues. It's a mockumentary about a dysfunctional family. I did it a year ago, and that's it, I guess.
Fantastic. Who's next?
I can jump in. Happy
Go
to.
for it.
Yeah, hi. My name's Elle. I'm one of the 2 L's on the call, apparently, tonight. The film that I submitted to the festival is called Keys. It's a short film about a young immigrant woman who longs to play the piano, and she's dealing with some unknown grief concerning her mother that we don't really find out the full story there, but we know that she's a lonely soul, and she works for a pub landlady who is also a bit of a lonely soul herself. And it's a short film just about connection and friendship and trying to kind of reach out when we're lonely together and try to form a connection with someone else. So I wrote and directed Keys last year when I was a student at film school. So it's kind of my first foray into filmmaking, and yeah, I've got the bug now. Can't wait to make more.
It's fantastic. We've got the gamut of filmmakers here from student work from last year all the way up to Noella, who is something to aspire to. L number 2, I think there's a better name for you, but
LG.
LG. There we go.
Hi guys. I wrote and co-directed this short film for A21, which is a nonprofit that combats human trafficking. And so this film is about 2 men who were tricked into jobs over the border of their country and kind of found a brotherhood in trying to escape. So it kind of brings awareness of modern day slavery.
Yeah, A21's work, it's not the first time it's been brought to the festival, but every time it is equally as powerful. It is fantastic viewing. Edward, yourself.
Hi, my project, the cab, take place at the Élysée Palace, and it's a political satire about French politics and about the presidential campaign and almost about Emmanuel Macron. And yes, that's all. That's all.
Fantastic. And now I'm gonna kick straight off with basically what led you as writer and directors, all 5 of you, what led you to working on this particular project? With Noella, if you want to talk about the short film that you won an award for, that would be great as well. But what was it about that project that led you to want to write it and to want to direct it? Oh, Noella, you're on mute. Okay, we'll start with someone else. LG, let's go with you and we'll come back to the audio.
I always had an interest. I originally wanted to go just teach kids how to use cameras in different countries who might not have access to cameras. And so that kind of turned into a career that hopefully can write to things that people experience in worlds that I would say they wouldn't normally get to have a voice easily. So, the world of human trafficking or the world of slavery or different issues like that. And so in this case, particularly, a lot of people know that women often are trafficked into human trafficking, but not a lot of people know that men are just as often, honestly, just in slightly different ways and jobs. And so A21 was nice enough to provide me with some case studies and case files to kind of get into real people who have gone through them. And so this kind of inspired, this short film is a conjunction of two real stories that I kind of made into one, Making New Friends.
And is this your first time working with A21? Is this?
Yes, in filmmaking. I actually have worked with them in a volunteering sense.
Oh, really?
For a number of years, yeah. But it was funny because, when you are a filmmaker, a lot of people want you to make films for them. and so it was fun to kind of, I guess, put my living to use in a way that was for a nonprofit, not for work necessarily. Yeah.
It's quite interesting. What Noella has been working on over the past few years is kind of similar in the sense of, we were talking about how you started with cameras and basically bringing the ability to make short films, to create something to kind of like underprivileged areas. Yeah. When she gets her audio back, you can chat away about that. Yeah. LB, what about yourself? What led you to write this?
Wow, that's a tough one to follow, LG, there, because that's like such an inspirational story. And I'm kind of the opposite, because I really made this film out of spite.
That's a great reason.
Well, I mentioned earlier that it's a student film. So I was studying at the Screen and Film School in Brighton, and they have a procedure there. The way that films get chosen, which films get made, is basically that the class votes on which films that they want to work on. And whoever pitches their idea, if their film gets the most votes, then that's the film that everybody works on for that period of time. And I pitched this film, Keys, that I'd written, And I didn't get the votes, so nobody wanted to work on it. And I decided, well, I'm going to make it anyway. So it was completely out of spite, but I'm glad I followed
films
through.
are made for multiple reasons. The fact that it was made, spite or not, is a testament to your dedication. I'm going to do a sound check with Noella just for a second. Noella, have we fixed the problem? No, she doesn't even know I'm here anymore. Moving on to Edward. What was the reason behind writing this? Why did you want to make the film?
I wrote for many years on script that never gone on screen, and I want to do my own show, my own series to show what I can do, what I write. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And I love comedy, also American and Britannic comedy. And my inspiration for my series was The Office. And because politics is a little my hobby, I take The Office and the cab. To resume, the cab is The Office at the Elysee, and now it's very difficult in France to speak and wrote at politics, and that's why I wanted to make this series to I don't know how to say.
Well, it's a great inspiration. It is. You can see where you've been inspired by The Office, but with that political element to it, it does elevate it past the kind of mundane. You feel like you're seeing behind the closed doors.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also to lot about the way to rule the country also.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Noella, I'm going to do another mic check. Do we have you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, fantastic.
Okay.
You have returned and it's clear as ever. I will go with you then, Noella. What was it about? What was it about the story that made you want to write it? What was it about that film particularly that you wanted to direct?
Well, the short film that I did. Well, I was looking for a subject and with a story, and it sort of landed in my lap. It was the story of the aunt of a friend of mine who was interned in a internment camp at the beginning of the Second World War. She was a Jewish immigrant refugee. Anyway, so that's what started it, and it was a wonderful story. I didn't think it up, but I certainly sort of adapted and transformed it. And I was at the National Film Television School in England, and we had to, it was my graduation film. And the making of it was pretty educational because I'd written it and then I directed it, and I was completely attached to my screenplay. And my tutor said, well, it isn't working. It's too long in the middle, boring. Why don't you cut so-and-so scene? And I said, well, I can't cut that because... And he said, well, why don't you move it? And I said, well, I can't do that because... And he said, well, cut it in half and put one bit here, one bit there. And I said, well, I can't do that because they'll all be wearing the same costumes. He said, nobody will notice. So I did exactly as he suggested, and it transformed the film. You know, there's a magic which you will all have experienced with filmmaking that you don't quite know why it suddenly works. And then every change I made improved it and improved it. Thank you, Roger Crittenden, who was my tutor at the time, for being ruthless with me.
It's good. It's good you took his advice, because it's such a hard thing to do when you are so, when it's in your head and you know exactly what it should be, to be able to be open enough to take outside advice, because you never know, everyone else, they see it differently than you do. So it obviously that bit of advice worked magnificently for you.
I've held it all my directing career, is surface the story, bugger the script, make the story work.
Fantastic.
Anyway,
And last but not
that's it.
least, Ortal, what about yourself? Tell us about what led you to write this.
I think it was the character that made everything like form for me, because my boyfriend went to a costume store and he bought a mustache, and then he just became a completely different person. And he just made a character which is like a very chauvinist, not sensitive like father. And it went on for a period of time until I was like, okay, we have to build a world around it, and we have to make a series out of it. So I thought the best way to enhance the character was to write a very realistic setting around it, to pop it up, and then that was the trigger that made the script come alive. And I wanted to make it my final project in university, in Tel Aviv University. But when I came to them with this script, they said, no, we don't like it. It's not funny and it's not going to work. And and they say you should make a short film. Stop messing around with web series, because they don't really. I don't know. I feel like to web series, it's not the same world out there as it is for short films. It's not taken seriously as short films, and I think it's judged in different scale, because web series are meant for like the audience of the internet, where like short films are meant for the audience of the festival. So it's really a new territory for me. I didn't know what I was going into.
I think it's interesting that you say, sorry to interrupt you there, that I think that's a very good description of I think how both are perceived. Myself and Noella were talking just before we started this about what the impetus behind the London Web Fest is. And it is that giving a voice to both short film and web series as their own legitimate thing, as their own legitimate art form. And what I've had the joy of seeing over the past few years is, especially in different countries where funding, in Canada and in France, there tends to be a lot more funding for web series, and they sometimes move to TV, but also are taken as their own art form as seriously. So hopefully this is, a kind of an uprising of the web series to match it with the short form. I want to lead off something that Noella was saying about kind of being precious about material. I love the fact that LB and Ortal, you've both said that basically people have said, don't make this, it's not, and you're like, no, I'm going to do this anyway. But when it comes to making it, how do you deal with being precious about material that you are the writer for and then the director? Because often what is happening is they're normally very separate jobs in a lot of respects. The writer could be on set, or the director can just have their vision of what the writing is. How, when you're balancing both of those professions, how do you stop being precious, or how do you deal with, being the writer and director on set, and any changes that may have to come up?
For me, it just came naturally. I wrote the script to direct it. So I felt like, I also feel like the when you come to someone with a script and they say, don't do it, but you still want to do it, it's because you know how you will direct it, and you know how you will do it in a way that will end up, like the end product that you are envisioned. So if I understand the question.
No, completely. And I think for everybody, you know, this is posed to all of you. Were there any situations where, you know, trying to get coverage, running out of daylight, running out of time, running out of budget? Were there concessions that had to be made? Did you find it difficult, or more difficult, should I say, than just writing alone or directing alone? Anyone is free to answer.
It's a really interesting question. I mean, I certainly experienced having to make changes sort of on the day, you know, when things sort of get thrown at you and you realize actually this shot isn't going to work as you pictured it, or the locations isn't quite right for the way you pictured this thing playing out. Because I'm so early on in my career right now, because I'm really just starting out, I love getting feedback. So I haven't really gotten to the stage yet where I'm so precious about something that I'll, you know, hold it tight to my chest and I'll do it anyway. I like listening to others around me, especially people that have more experience. You know, working on keys with my cast, Anna Fraser and Ruth Lass, they were absolutely incredible. You know, Ruth has been an actor for many, many years, and she just brought to the set all of this experience that no one else in the room had. You know, the crew were all students. So we were hungry to learn, and I was happy to make changes. You know, if she pitched something to me and I thought it would work in the story, then I was like, yeah, brilliant, let's do that instead. You know, so she brought a lot of stuff that I wouldn't even have imagined. And I think that, you know, the same with Anna, they made the film better at the end of the day because they're collaborators, you know. I wasn't there to be like an artistic dictator and say it has to be this way. But maybe that's just because I'm just starting out. Maybe I'll become so wildly successful that I'll be a dictator one day.
You'll get to run a ruthless set.
You never know. You never know. We'll see.
I remember on this short film, that I was in rehearsal with my cast. Maybe we were going to shoot later. I can't remember that bit. But I suddenly thought, who is this writer that's written all this stuff? You know, all this dialogue, we don't need it. And I tore the pages out. Now, the actors were a little bit alarmed by that, but I could see that it was just going to waste time and footage and everything. And so I remember saying, who is this writer? And chucking the pages away. That was my first experience of ruthlessness.
That's good. It's self-aware, though. That's the best kind of ruthlessness, when you can be, you know, aware of what changes can be made, rather than just sticking to what the plan was.
Yes.
Let's call it a live editing process.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'm still having to learn how to not be precious. I don't think I have not figured that out yet. With A21 over there, we did 2 films, and in one of the films, one of the girls was supposed to jump off of a pier into the freezing sea, and it's the climax of the film. So we were set up for it, and on the day, we were hoping for stormy weather, but the weather was actually so bad that even the stunt people were like, can't do it, no way. And in my head, I'm like, how am I supposed to rewrite this? Nothing's gonna match, like right now on the shoot day, nothing's gonna match jumping off of she's supposed to like die. So I was like, I'll do it, I'll jump.
Oh wow.
I was not letting go of the script.
Oh my goodness.
It didn't happen, but it took like a 2-hour fight.
I love the dedication, but
we did rewrite, but it was hard.
Wow.
I applaud you, LB. I need to learn some of that.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I think that there are always going to be certain things about your project that you don't want to let go of. And I think if you feel that strongly about it, then you should listen to yourself and don't let go of those things. But for, 80% of the rest of it, those things probably can be changed, and you should listen to your crew and listen to your instincts, and if, let go a little bit. But for those things that you really are attached to, yeah, fight for them. Keep them. Don't endanger your life over them.
I'd say it's good advice, but at the same time, if it means jumping off a pier, maybe just take a step back, take 2 hours. This is Christopher Ramsey. He's a previous winner who agrees with you all, which is sometimes the ruthless advice is the way to go. Thanks so much for commenting, Chris. Anybody else with any other? I'm loath to ask just in case it's as dangerous. But has anybody got any more tidbits about my question? Should I say? Sorry, I was distracted by just the thought of what would have gone wrong there. You like the director's gone, but we can still keep going. That's fine. So Autel or Edouard, something about being precious about your material on set. Were you able to let things go, or did you find yourself kind of hammering home?
For me, it was a little different because we wrote the second season of the series. We were four screenwriters, and I ruled the writing room. And during on the set, I had a co-director because I'm also one of the main actor of the show. So I was never alone, but I took all the decision. But when yes, it's what Noella said. So sometimes the script doesn't work, and you say, "Who wrote this?" But with my cinematographer and my co-director, we change and very quickly because it was very easy for me because I on the set I feel not only a director but almost a screenwriter. So I know always where the story go, and I trust my co-director and my cinematographer to shoot what we need to say.
I think it's a unique and privileged position to be in, where you can not only bounce off people who have a similar goal and a similar, outcome in mind, but also to be on both sides of the lens and to know that, to fully understand what's coming towards you, what's being asked of you to tell that story, because it's also partly your story as well. It's a very unique position to be in. We were talking last season to producers about delegation, and kind of like, they're wearing the hat of key delegator when it comes to sets to make sure that everyone's doing their job. But I always find it interesting because there's different budgets and there's different kind of sets when it comes to being a director. What key bits of delegating do you find are most prevalent for you or most important for you on set, and kind of how much of the delegation falls on producers' heads, and how much are you expected to delegate yourself when you were filming?
What is the delegate?
To give out orders to different staff to make sure that the film set runs smoothly. I know from own personal experience on being on different sets, the more the budget, the producer runs the show, but as the budget decreases, directors, that delegation hat kind of becomes heavier, I suppose. What surprised you, and kind of what surprised you as a director of kind of how much you had to delegate whilst on set? It's a badly worded question, but I hope you understand the intent behind it.
I'll answer.
Thank you.
I'll get the ball rolling.
Save me from the words.
The bigger the budget, the more the crew, the more there are problems. And in the end, as a director, the only thing that you can do is hold on to the story. There's so much going on around you, so many questions, so many things going wrong, that as long as you as a director can focus on the story that you're telling and the shots you need for that story, then you have the answers and everybody else can do their jobs. It's very difficult, the delegation, but of course, if the people around you know what they're doing, they leave you to work out what the story is. But that's the important thing. This is my prejudice, it's storytelling. So that's what I have to say on the subject.
No, it's very good. It's good to know, especially as you know, as you've worked your way through your career, to have had the experience of, you know, from your first short film all the way up to feature films, kind of like the different pressures that, you know, come with that, from having a bit more control and being, you know, behind the camera as well as screenwriter, to having, as you say, the more crew there are, the bigger the set, the more problems that can occur with it. For anybody else, how did you cope with delegation? How did you feel that pressure, or was it something that you kind of took as part of the job?
I can answer because for my second season, I made a lot of delegation, and my favorite on the set, my favorite place is the producer and screenwriter, because I can supervise the director, and one time the director and cinematographer shoot a scene, and I say stop. It's unnecessary. This scene will not be edited. So stop all, and go on to the next scene. And it was very, very relaxed to not manage the team. It was incredible, because I was a producer, I was a screenwriter, I wrote everything, but the team. It was very, very quiet.
That's another great position to be in, where you can make that call and not have everybody go, "What are you talking about?" Like, you know, to have all the hats on, for people to understand why you're cancelling a scene just before it's shot.
Yes, and it's yes, I love this position. It was this two position between the directors, and I'm also co-director, because I made the preparation. But during on the set, I trust my co-director, and I let him shoot what I prepare.
Fantastic. Anybody else? Any stories?
Well, for me, I think that the thing that surprised me the most being on set, and I've only ever worked on small budget stuff. I mean, I'm talking like zero budget stuff, you know, a couple of £100 here and there, so far at least. It really surprised me when I actually got into the making of the film. Like what Noella said, how much as a director you really need to be focusing on the story, and how the other parts become a distraction, even though those other parts are required to tell the story. You know, people need to be doing their jobs, and the logistics needs to work in order for the film to be made. But the more of that you have coming at the director, the harder it is to hold on to the vision of the story when you're working with, you know, very specific logistical things, like, you know, who's going out to the shop to get lunch, or who's catering, you know, that sort of stuff. So it really highlighted to me how important it is that these roles exist, and that people stay in their lanes and do their roles, and that you trust the people that you work with to do their jobs, so that you don't feel like you have to, you know, be checking in on people to make sure that's the way you want it to be, that you trust them, that you know they're doing what they need to be doing, so that you can just focus on this bit over here, you know?
No. LG, can I ask, A21 have a series of films, and they're all to do with human trafficking. How much, with something that you've written and co-directed, how much of a pressure was there to be unified with the rest of those films, to have it tie in with what's already been presented, or do you feel like you were left to your own devices as a standalone piece?
That's a really good question. creatively, there was a lot of freedom in the making of the film. Probably a lot more freedom than most nonprofits would give you, or anyone would give you if they're giving you their money. I think that the thing that actually was tricky was that because there were certain things that as an organization they needed to show, like a recruitment moment, you know, or the way that the phone calls take place, the way that you get tricked into a job. Some of those things aren't things I would have chosen to put into the structure of a short film. I probably would have condensed it a bit more situationally. And so it was tricky to think about how to take a very broad landscape of, you know, needs and then put them into a short film structure. I think easily could have been a feature structure. So there were challenges with that, but, you know, they were really, really great about having conversations around it. And so, yeah, it was a good challenge for me too, because, you know, every project is learning. So there's always, when you write, for me, it was just another exercise in, you know, how to get around things. And I don't think that can ever go too wrong, you know. Oh, maybe it can, but
it's quite interesting because I was rewatching it today. You know, going through clips for the VT at the beginning of the Q&A, and you would never know. You can see the parts on rewatching where it is kind of, here's the information that you need to give, that if you call this number, you know, but it's so woven into the story that it doesn't, it's not like product placement where suddenly you're like, oh, why is there a Coke can prominently displayed in there? It fortunately, you know, it's woven in very, very well.
Yeah.
I think what I'd like to move on to with this is honesty from all of you, both positive and negative, which is, what's the most important skill to have as a director? What's a skill that you have learned in a positive that you are, I will say it for you, proud that you have, but also what's a skill that you've yet to develop or that you find yourself struggling with? I know for filmmakers watching this Q&A that no one's perfect, and it's great to hear from working directors what, you know, that they struggle with certain qualities. So yeah, what's a positive and a negative skill that you have as directors? Ortal, I'll start with you.
I think for me it's the ability to stay present in the chaos and to make decisions and to rewrite, like on set, stuff that you see that doesn't work. And because in the beginning, it's really hard to be just a director, like following the last question. You have to do everything. I mean, the series we shot in our house, and we paint the whole walls, and we made the whole art from scratch. So, and we have like a lot of crew, a lot of gear in our house all of a sudden, and like 8 days of a lot of people everywhere. The actor that acts as the roommate is our actual roommate, and the younger boy in the series is my brother, and it's like it was very the boundaries was very like non-existent. And you know, you shout like action, and then you cook for the lunch, and you have to do like everything together. And I think the most important skill for the beginning, like our stage where you can't be just a director, is the multitasking and the ability to stay like focused, as Noella said, on the actual story and the actual, I think, feel that you want to portray in the film, and the ability to do cuts to the production and how do you say, immerse yourself like in the art instead of in the logistics. So yeah,
it's not always easy
Very
when you're
true.
featuring as well. Like,
not easy at all.
Yeah. Fantastic. Anybody else who wants to, you know, be honest with what their feelings are as well as their positives?
One quick note. Oh, go ahead, Noella.
Noella?
Oh, I just get tired. It's very tiring.
It is.
And
Fair enough, it's true.
and especially if you're on a long shoot. But I used to run out of energy at about 5 o'clock and insist on having banana sandwiches, which then I found other people were eating, so I would get very grumpy about it. But so it's just sustaining the energy from the start of the day. And, you know, as a director, I was getting up at, I'm sure you all do, 5 o'clock in the morning to plan the day's shoot and get home 10 o'clock at night after having watched the rushes. But very, very exhausting job. And I also didn't like directing big set pieces. That I wasn't good at that.
And is that because of the number of people involved, or the kind of the scale, or was it just less intimate?
Less intimate, yes. That I did, you know, I storyboarded a few car crashes and things like that, but I never enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
You know, it was just shooting it by numbers. It would all work out in the edit, but it was no fun to direct.
Yeah, that does seem that I've always wondered that when it comes to especially larger blockbusters, but with action sequence especially, it does seem slightly perfunctory of, you know, get the shots so that in edit it can be, you know, it can be made into something fantastic. But how do you make that stick in your head when there isn't an emotional connection, when there isn't you know, it's all substance, or it's all, you know, it's less about the words and more just about the visuals. LG, which just makes me think of you as a Spice Girl. I'm so sorry.
Since you're British, that's a compliment. We love the Spice Girls in America.
Totally. I watched 25 years of the Spice Girls at the BBC. I think it was on last night, and I watched it all. See, there's me being honest. Now you, LG.
I think my note goes alongside Noella's. Actually, when you get tired, it's hard, at least for me, to keep my mind on what the film is. Those decisions that we're talking about, just know your story. I think at some point, a certain amount of lack of sleep hits, or, you know, your brain gets jumbled. And it's tough to not want to change course at some point, or question your decisions or choices that you made. And I think I've personally had to learn that not every film can be everything. I can go take these ideas and put them into another film. But I know, Ortal, what you were saying about shooting in your home, like, that's hugely exhausting because you never get real rest, you know? So I think that's something I struggle with, is not changing course all the time too much.
That's very interesting about the, you know, not putting everything into the, you know, there are other opportunities after this. You can make this its own thing. There doesn't need to be a, you know, a 5-minute dance scene just because you really want to. Edward, what about yourself? What are the things you've learned?
For me, a good skill on set is the ability to listening to the suggestion of the other members, of the technical members. Sometimes even the boom operator have a good idea to take the best shoot there, because we can't place the camera and the boom operator, and we don't know how to do, and the small guy in the corner of the set say, "Hey, I got an idea." But the difficulty is also to not listening everything. You have not to take everything that the team says. No, that's my project, and stop now. We do what I say. But the difficulty is to make the part between the good for our project and the things that the team want to do for us, and sometimes it's a little difficult to make a choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That not only, as you know, going from what LG said, not only do you not have to put everything in, but also making the decision that that's not going in. It's making that on set when there's a lot of voices can be quite difficult to quieten it down to have the focus. LB, for you.
Yeah, I like that. I'm following you, Edward, actually, because I can relate to that. I come from a marketing background, and so in my previous career, there was a lot of taking other people's ideas on board and being quite diplomatic, making sure that everybody has their voice heard. But part of the job of the director is to have the final vision for the film, and that just because these suggestions are being made, if it's going to damage the final film, then you shouldn't put them in. And just having that assertiveness to be able to say no. And, I think that this is the right way to go. And I'm going to stand by that. That's quite tricky. I can relate to that. I think my biggest struggle, and it's a little bit it's not just about directing or writing, but I really suffer from imposter syndrome quite a lot, where I sort of feel like, what am I doing here? Is someone going to figure out that I don't really know what I'm doing? Why is everybody on this set listening to me? Oh my God, I'm the one that has to make this happen. So for me, the key is preparation. So I really prepare the life out of it. I try to think of it from every single angle, every single sort of scenario that could happen. And, that never works because there's always things that happen on the day that you couldn't possibly predict. So the flip side of that really is something that I think that I'm quite good at. So that was my struggle. And the skill that I think I'm quite good at is just keeping cool. Keep your cool under pressure, because there's always going to be those pressures and there's always going to be things that go wrong. But keeping your cool on set so that it's, a pleasant environment and not losing it is so important. Even when you feel like inside you're losing it, I've had, actors say to me before, wow, you're so calm, it was so lovely to work. And inside I'm like, God, really? You thought I was calm? Like I'm going to pieces inside. But I think that's really important for a director and a producer as well, to be able to be those leaders on set and just take a breath and keep it calm and keep it cool.
I think it's a great bit of advice. And it's also nice to hear about imposter syndrome, because I think everybody here and any creative person I know has that exact thing. And from a personal point of view, I have to keep telling myself, if people keep coming back, then you must be doing something right. If people aren't laughing you off of set, then you must be doing something right. But that kind of oh God, why are they all looking at me for answers? Why? Oh, I'm the one who's responsible for this. I get it. I brought them here.
Yeah, shouldn't there be an adult here? Where's the adult?
Exactly. So moving on, going back to something that Noella was talking about, which is, filmmaking is a laborious job. Other than banana sandwiches, what keeps you motivated to pre-production, on set, and for those involved in post? What keeps you motivated to continue writing and directing, and making films, other than banana sandwiches? Oh, we've got a silent on there. I love it. I ask you a big question, and I'm like, but also we're running out of time. So if you could just think of a very quick answer, I give you no time.
You just can't help yourself. You can't help yourself when you're in the creative world. You have to do it. The editing is the thing that I find the most joyful, and I always look forward to that. But I honestly don't know. Other people, I don't know. Can't speak for others.
It's interesting to hear about editing. I think for each stage of it, everyone's got their loves and their hates. I do editing out of protest, as LB said, out of spite. I'm going to get it done and I'll show them. It's I'll get it made. But it's definitely I find the most laborious task. But then everyone's got their thing, so it's nice to know that someone takes great joy out of that. Otal, sorry, I think you were about to say something and I cut in.
No, I just wanted to say that about the editing, I find that what's motivated me in editing is to prove the staff that they didn't waste their time when they came to help me for free. So they will see a product and not. That's what keeps me editing. But I don't know what motivates me to write or to direct. It's just it's just a mysterious force.
It is a strange thing. Once you get started on it, you kind of it's just a roller
Once
coaster.
You have something in your head and you can't take it out. It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. So you have to make other people see too.
Yeah, I agree with that, and with what Noella said as well. It's sort of like similar points. It's like you just have to, like, once it's there, once you've started thinking about it and the cogs are turning, you just can't let it go and you have to see it through. Like, I think that another big motivator for me is that I have to really believe in the story. Like, if I really do think that I've written something that's good, I just have to follow through with it then. There are other things, other projects and ideas that I've had that I sort of pick up and put down. And those are the ones where maybe I don't believe in them as much, but the ones that I really believe in, I just have to follow through.
Good stuff. And Edward, yourself?
I don't know.
Me and Edward are the same.
I thought I saw him kind of. I was wrong.
I don't know. I was looking for during the others was speaking, but I don't know because I love it. When I didn't try, it missed me. When I don't shot, it missed me. So I need to tell a story. I don't know why. Really I don't know why. It's yes, it's a mysterious force.
That's a universal answer.
Yeah. We all do things, and you're like, is that looking back and going, why have I? Like, I started it for a reason, so I should continue, right? This is a LG. Have you your
day by day? I honestly think no, really. I think I think what Noella said, you just have to. I think a lot of it for me personally stems back to, though, that I never went to film school, and so I'm learning as I go, and it always feels like there's something to learn, and I never quite feel like I'm done. I always feel a little behind, and then it's always exciting to figure out what I can get better at. But more so on the days that are tiring, I think it always just comes down to if you have something to say. On the days that you feel like maybe you don't have anything to say, you're like, why am I writing films? Why am I making stuff? But when you finally figure out what that is, I think that keeps me into it. It's like drugs. I don't do drugs, but if you do,
See, the answer was there all along. I just needed to give you a little bit of time, and it was very concise. I liked it. We are fast running out of time, so I think for the filmmakers watching at home, for people who are watching this in the coming weeks, for first-time directors, for people who are have been in the business for a while, it'd be good to get from you what you think are the key elements to making a good film. But what do you find for both writing and directing? What are the key elements you found that produce a good film? It's a very big question, but I thought I'd go out on a big one.
Wow. I mean, people go to film school for years to try and figure out the answer to that question.
It is. I suppose it's what have you found, yourself is along your path, along your way, what have you found has been beneficial to making what you deem as a good film? I think that's where I'm coming from. What is it about story structure? What is it about presentation and kind of shots that you choose that you find makes a good film, in your opinion?
I mean, for
Noella,
me, go ahead, Noella.
Well, I don't want to hog this, but I've traveled all over the world teaching filmmaking to in countries where they don't speak English. And their instinct has always been to get people in a row talking. And I think that European filmmakers also sometimes get people in a row talking. And I gave them the challenge to write stories about feet so that we weren't looking at their faces, and we could see if they could tell a story using feet. And they came up with some wonderful scripts. That's what has unmuted your mic? Anyway, so I would say don't rely too much on dialogue. Try and use pictures. Is that all right?
Fantastic. No, that's great. That's a wonderful answer. Anybody else like to add to that?
For me, it's also the characters, how the characters evolve. No, that doesn't. Not English. How the characters are growing in the story. We must always understand and have empathy with the characters. It's for me the way to make a good film.
No, I think that's a great point. We've Christopher is back. He is succinctly, put all your thoughts together into from this session into one piece. They've got adaptability from Martel, sustainability from Noella. Not every idea needs to happen from LG. Make choices, Edward. Be the director. Keep cool, LB. Thank you so much, folks, for making sense of some of my overly wordy questions. I do apologize, but also giving us an insight to what it's like to be a writer-director, and for also bringing your projects to the festival. It's been fantastic to have just a brief hour to chat with you. If you'd like to stick around in the green room, I'll chat to you afterwards. But to finish us out, as always, I like to replay just a little snippet of your work that we played at the beginning. Now we've had an hour to get to know you. I think it just adds a face to the project that you've worked on. I'll speak to you in a moment, but thank you very much.
Ça fait 5 ans qu'on fait monter l'extrême droite pour te présenter comme l'alternative à Le Pen, mais t'es tellement mauvais que tu te fais doubler à droite par Valoche. Alors du coup, on te fait un adversaire sur mesure, petit, aigri, chétif, l'esprit rabougri et l'ego surdimensionné. Et là encore, t'es incapable de faire le break. Putain, heureusement qu'à gauche, c'est carnaval.
Et encore, on a de la chance qu'ils nous fassent pas chanter avec la valise nucléaire.
הוא רואה אותי כמו ילדה, ומבאס, כי אני לא ילדה, אני בוגרת.
ענת, איפה המזרון ים המתנפח?
לאן אתה הולך?
אני עוזב אתכם עוד הערב. בסדר? הכרתי בחורה מקסימה בשם אליאנה תידר, ואנחנו כנראה הולכים לחיות ביחד, כנראה. את מבינה מה שמדברים איתך?
אני לא מבינה. אתה יוצא עם אליאנה תידר שחקנית?
ענת, אני מבקש שבבית אנחנו לפחות שם נקרא לה אליאנה, ולא כל הזמן כוכבת נוער.
Hello? Hi, Yuri. About this advert you applied for, we have a place for you. Still interested?
Yes, thank you. I'm more than interested. Tell me when is the start date?
How about we start you tomorrow?
The thing is, I can make it happen, but I need one more day, please.
Okay, no problem. We'll take care of everything.
Thank you. I really need this job.
Well, there we have it. Another hour just flies by. Thank you so much for joining us for another of our 2022 Roundtable sessions. If you're a filmmaker yourself and you've got a series or a film you're dying to show us, just head on over to londonwebfest.co.uk to find out all the details. Another huge thank you to all our guests for joining us today. Until next time, happy filmmaking.